Hello, Bruvs. We're back with a new book. This is an upcoming book which I'm going to read for Black History Month. Black Folktales by Julius Lester. As you can see, I have two copies. Purposely purchased two copies. I believe I bought each for 25 cents a piece. As you can see, this is obviously the reading copy since it was already in pretty rough shape. When I got it, along with this one, I found them at the same store, but a couple weeks apart, and I think actually went back to the store because I was like, I need two copies. Because you can see, as I've spoke of before, when a mass market paperback has not been deflowered, it will not go into a flat shape. It will stay in the V shape. And I prefer to keep this one in a semi-good shape. They're both by apparently Grove Press, but we'll check and see. This one, which I'm going to read, Cerveny Middle School. Not sure where that is. I would look it up. 1969, Grove Press. First Black Cat edition, 1970. Let's see what else is there. Julius Lester, author of To Be a Slave, the 1968 Newbery Medal. Runner-up is a man of many parts. Columnist, folk singer, radio personality, and photographer. He has written Look Out, Whitey. I think I have that book. Black Power's Gonna Get Your Mama. I do believe I have that book. I know I have it. Search for the New Land and Revolutionary Notes. His writings have appeared in The Guardian, Broadsides, Liberation, and Sing Out on WBAI, the Pacifica Foundation station in New York. His program has served as a forum for Black viewpoints. He has also cut 2 albums for Vanguard Records. I might actually I have a lot of different obscure records, so I actually may have this because I have always collected folk tales. Tom Feelings has illustrated many books with distinction, none more so than To Be a Slave. His own book, A Black Artist's Pilgrimage, is a book of people he has drawn and known in New York's ghettos in the American South and in West Africa. There's one of his illustrations. Frontispiece. Julius Lester, Black Folktales, illustrated by Tom Feelings. And there's that page. You can read it yourself. I ain't going to read the entire thing. Transmitted in any forms. All right. Oh, I don't care. In memory of Zora Neale Hurston, who made me glad I am me, and to H. Rap Brown. And will I read the foreword now? I will. And then I'm going to read you some Goodreads reviews of it. Folktales are stories that give people a way of communicating with each other, about each other, their fears, their hopes, their dreams, their fantasies, giving their explanations of why the world is the way it is. It is in stories like these that a child learns who his parents are and who he will become. The stories in this book are told in the cities and villages of Africa and on the street corners, stoops, porches, and bars, barbershops, and wherever else in America Black people gather. When somebody says, "Man, you remind me of the time when," everybody knows, here comes a story. There are many kinds of stories that partly happened and are partly imagined. But what you imagine can be as real and true as what happens in front of your eyes. There are stories that make you laugh, stories that make you think, stories that make you feel good inside, stories that teach you how to get along in the world, stories that take your mind off your troubles. Each person who tells a story molds the story to his tongue and to his mouth, and each listener molds the story to his ear. Thus, the same story, told over and over, is never quite the same. But when stories are written in books, people think that this is the only way the story should be, and that it cannot be changed. And that is the way a story, as a living, growing, changing thing, dies. Stories can be changed and should be, as the storyteller feels. The stories don't live otherwise. The stories in this book come from the black people of Africa and Afro America. Most of them have been written down before in different words and for different times. Some are still told in Africa, like The Girl with the Large Eyes and the Son of Kim Ana Uis and the Daughter of the Sun and the Moon. Some come from slavery time, like Hi John the Conqueror and People Who Could Fly. Some have been told in the South so long that nobody knows where they came from, like how God made the butterflies and how the snake got his rattles. Still others, like Staggerly, belong most to black people in the cities. Not all the stories here started as stories. Staggerly, for instance, was a song about a man who really lived, and Hi John was 3 stories, not one. I told about half of these stories first for a book printed in a small edition in 1967 by the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Black children in various places around the country had made some of them into plays. These stories are told here not as they were told 100 years ago, but as I tell them now, and I tell them now only because they have meaning now. Julius Lester, June 1969, New York City. And I will show you the contents. Forward, origins, love. You can read the titles yourself. We will revisit them. Jack and the Devil's Daughter, heroes, people, and then afterward. Origins is the first section, and I will stop there and go to some of the Goodreads reviews that I liked. This one's from Agni. My expectations were not high. I'm not sure why they weren't high, but I ended up really liking these tales, especially the ones in the origins section. How God made the butterfly, why apes look like people, why men have to work, and how the snake got his rattles. Julius Lester is one hell of a storyteller. However, I still cannot sort out my feelings towards heroic Staggerly, the baddest that ever lived, 75, who kept killing people left and right, pulled a gun on death, and eventually took over hell. Admittedly, certain word choices and racist jokes in this book made me quite uncomfortable. I usually prefer shocking and thought-provoking, over-predictable, and safe. But when it comes to political correctness, I feel like a fish out of water. Tony gave 4.5 stars. I love folktales, so I was obviously expecting to love this. What I did not expect was Lester to be so fucking funny. I was giggling in public. Amy Layton says, "Oh my God. This collection of folktales is the best that I've ever read. Seriously, I don't remember the last time I felt compelled to share every single last tale from a compilation to my coworkers. Like, there were so many great things in this book. Mrs. God, death being afraid of a human, God warning Mr. Rabbit to hide out in the 1960s, an enslaved person straight up murdering their master. Oh man, these were too good. These tales, however, have a seriously political slant, given that this collection was published in 1969. However, while that may mean it's too political for some folk, as though folk tales aren't political, it also means that they're so funny. There are jokes in there. There's real, legitimate criticism in there. He was as blind as a white person to racism. There's a real, actual sentence in one of those folk tales. They're just incredible. If you're interested in reading more literature by black folks, this is a good place to start. Short, sweet, and utterly radical. Review cross-listed here. I'm not going to look there. And it also gives a short bio of Lester. Julius Lester was an American writer of books for children and adults. He was an academic who taught for 32 years, 1971 to 2003. Apparently, the folktales books got him a gig at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. He was also a photographer as well as a musician who recorded 2 albums of folk music and original songs. I have a feeling I have his record. Let me look this up. The answer is no, I do not have one of his records. I'm sure there's some on YouTube, but I'm not going to look for them. All right, we'll read the back cover and then I will call it quits on this until 2 days from now when I start reading the book. These tales are from the black people of Africa and America. Some are still told. I already read that inside. So immediate is the force of their telling, you almost hear Lester's voice, and Tom Feelings is right there by his side, creating illustrations as vibrant and as immediate as the words. Although these tales have been told before, Lester brings a fresh, street talk language to them and thus breathes new life into them. It is a tribute to the universality of these tales and Lester's ability to see it that we are thus presented with old truths dressed for today. The simplicity and grace of Lester's writing make black folk tales a sheer delight. This is a book for all ages, but one that children especially shouldn't miss. There's the barcode, and there's the Black Cat, published by Grove Weidenfeld. Focus kitten. All right, goodbye.